It's past 7.
Yes.
All rise for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're gonna open the public hearing for the renewal of the franchise, the Cable Vision Systems of Dutchess County Corporation. Warren, do you want to touch base on this?
Yeah, sure. Do we have anybody from Altice here? Or
Yes.
okay, I don't know if they want to speak, but we've negotiated over a number of months a franchise renewal agreement between the town of Pine Plains and Cablevision Systems, Dutchess County Corporation. We've gone back and forth, made a lot of changes to the proposed contract. It's been somewhat reviewed by the Public Service Commission. I usually send the copy of the contract, and they had some input. And I think we are now in a position where we can conduct the public hearing tonight and take any comments from the public on the proposed renewal agreement.
I'm gonna open the floor for comments. Concerns? So just state your name and where you're from.
My name is Roger Connor, and I'm with representing Altice tonight. And Samantha Pardal Jerez should be on Zoom also. She's with Altice. I just wanted to introduce myself to let you know I'm here to answer any questions that the board may have and to assure the public that their comments will be heard by Altice management from myself and from Samantha.
Does anybody from the public have any comments?
Stan Herson, Pine Plains resident. First, I just want to give a little introduction to myself. He is a documentary filmmaker, but I've had a 20-year relationship as a consultant and filmmaker to the Bell System, AT&T. I was an independent consultant, both in management and strategic and operations. Very familiar with policy about universal service, and particularly with rural. Bell System made Ted Vail made a strategic decision about everybody would be provided equal service, no matter how far from the pole. The breakup of the Bell System around '83 was when that got it was because of competition. I'm very concerned. And look, we have so many damn providers. I'm served by Consolidated, which used to be Fairpoint, which used to be Taconic, which used to be Akeley's service, for Twisted Pair. We need Twisted Pair for storms. Just so to make it perfectly clear, the central office provides the power for the little copper wires. So the only way you can miss the phone service is, of course, if the whole system goes down, but if that wire is severed between the central office or the slant D-slant and your home, okay? Tree comes down, very often you still have service. Cable, however, has a different power system. So the Comcast or Altice, I don't know who's doing what anymore, has a limited span. They need generators to provide the service. We get bad snow, particularly wet snow, the trees come down and people with cable don't have service. The other issue is broadband, I feel, should not be considered a luxury in a rural community like this. It is a necessity. We are isolated. The people here are deprived of experience. Okay, they're deprived of moments that you get just by growing up in a suburb or a small community. I've looked at this plan, the offering from Altice. It's dense, it's boilerplated, it's fine for Hyde Park, it's fine for Poughkeepsie, but I want to see an explanation to the community in plain language why they are not served by fiber. Why they are not served by fiber. And for the people who can't be served, I think they should be offered some sort of free cable, not cable, wireless service in town. So that you can go someplace, use your computer and get high-speed broadband. I'm limited to an upload speed of less than 1 megabyte on my, per second. Some of you know I am the author of the videos that Pine Plains use. I have files that I can't upload because their resolution is too high. It takes me overnight to upload a concert. Okay? Because I'm limited to less than 1 meg. My download speed is 5. I can go sit in front of the Moose with my cell phone and I get 25 megs. The public deserves some special consideration. That's all I'm saying. We're a rural community. We don't need the boilerplate. We need an explanation, some education. I think it's going to be a concerted effort, not just from broadband. I think the library should be giving programs on how to use the internet, how to do searches, how to fact check. There are all kinds of things we could do. But we need to get out of this isolation. It is killing us. That's it.
Thank you.
I just have a question because I don't understand.
Just state your name, please.
Oh, that's easy.
Okay.
I see Altice advertised on television all the time. Are you related to Cablevision? Are you
Yes.
part of that?
Well, it used to be Cablevision.
Optimum, whatever.
In 2016, Cablevision sold the business to Altice.
But even though my bill still says Optimum.
Yeah,
Cable.
they kept the brand name.
Okay, so how does this change my service?
How
Is
does,
this going to affect the service that I have now, which is awful?
what, a new franchise agreement?
No. Does that change the cable, the television, internet? Is that going to affect how the service is provided?
No, not at all. The infrastructure has not changed with the change of ownerships. Altice is putting millions of dollars into upgrading the infrastructure. The infrastructure has not been upgraded in almost 20 years.
Can you just give me in broad strokes what that means?
It means right now, the company has fiber optic trunk lines
Okay,
that were put in 20 years ago, replacing all the copper trunk lines. And the fiber optics improved reliability and improved signal quality and introduced a greater capacity for internet and phone and television. And so the trunk lines were replaced by fiber. And now the objective is to replace the last mile of copper cable to fiber and have fiber run into the home,
okay,
replacing copper altogether. Now, we're still a couple of years from this being completed,
okay.
but when it is completed, it will allow customers the ability to have gigabit speeds of data for internet service. And with more and more devices becoming internet ready, the infrastructure needs to be able to handle that. Altice, all the cable operators, their infrastructure was sorely tested during the pandemic and during the lockdown.
Right.
And they learned a lot from that experience. And the upgrade is to address those.
I just
issues.
have one more question, which is more on a personal level. The way the programs are structured when you have to sign up at Cablevision, where you kind of held a prisoner for the amount of stations that you get, the
Oh,
channel ones?
yes, yes.
Is that going to change?
That's an interesting question, and
Because that's the thing that everybody complains about.
it is going to change because more and more television programming is going to be delivered
Live stream.
digitally as opposed to over-the-air transmissions.
Like that, in other words, I can't, I'm held captive to stations that I don't want because I'm stuck with them. So that's the issue. You used to be able to pick the stations you wanted and pay accordingly. Now we're just, you either get this or this,
Well, there's still different tiers of service.
I guess.
And, but I think in time, that whole concept, because that's kind of a universal frustration.
Yes.
Why do I need 200 something channels when I'm only watching a handful of them?
Right.
And paying for everything else,
Right.
including sports channels
Exactly.
that they add an extra fee on. And eventually, as everything becomes digitized and the technology evolves to the point where we can isolate and create a la carte type of services for folks, I think that day is coming. I don't think it's going to be in the next 3 to 4 years,
Okay.
but I do believe
Someday,
it's coming.
All right, thank you.
Anybody
Same
else?
time they hook up to the house.
Yeah, I just have a question, Vicky Srocco. I just want to know the time frame for these changes to make it to the rural areas. We're like here,
And quite honestly, this is the end of the system.
right?
And,
So are we talking 3, 4, 5 years before they actually get the work done out here?
It's so hard to pinpoint a calendar right now because they would have been further along, except for the pandemic. That halted
Right.
construction for a year and a half. They're working north, finishing up Westchester now, and Rockland, and now moving into the southern part of Orange. So coming up to Putnam and Dutchess and Ulster will be in the next couple of years. Now, so we're probably looking at 3 or 4, yes, before it's all completely done.
First, Matt Finley. First, I wanted to say I'm disappointed to walk in at 7:09 and find this hearing underway when the website said it started at 7:10. Okay. I am not here to speak for the broadband committee. I'm speaking for myself. But I believe I know what the broadband committee would say and with some of the points they would make. And I see now we have a representative from Optimum, which is terrific. I thought that this public hearing would be for the town board, and so I have my notes, but most of them are already addressed. The broadband committee was formed at the request of this town board, the previous town board. We took no position on the renewal of the contract. First off, we were not charged with doing so. Second, the renewal, the contract says it's non-exclusive, which means we really have nothing to lose by going ahead and continuing it. The terms, as I understand them, and this is why I hated law school, is to read this stuff. The terms, as I understand it, is that if the town were to grant a franchise to anybody else, that Optimum would be eligible for the same favorable terms that we might give a competing company. Do you understand that to be true, sir?
That's correct.
Okay. So that's a reason why, there's no reason why you shouldn't go ahead and approve it. There would certainly be chaos, I think, if we were to switch providers. But you should be aware that there are better options out there, one of which is Spectrum. I happen to have a second house in the Adirondacks, and I have better internet there with Spectrum for less money than what I have here in Pine Plains from Optimum. Spectrum is all around us. So if you were to choose to be really bold, maybe a little bit short-term foolish, and not renew this contract, there are other options out there. Spectrum is to the west of us in Rhinebeck, Red Hook, Milan. It's to the south of us in Clinton and Pine Plains. It's to the east of us in the state of Connecticut. So we are the northernmost point, as I understand it, sir, of your service area. Okay, and so he mentioned a point that I was going to make, which is the population served by Optimum is primarily in Westchester and to the south of us. It has to be to the south of us because we're the farthest north you can go, at least in Dutchess County. So what most disappointed me reading the proposed renewal contract was that there was no mention of a time frame. You've been asked by a couple of people, when's this going to happen? Well, where are they going to start? They're starting, he admitted, they're starting where their population is greatest and where their services is most in demand in Westchester, and they're moving north. Just remember that we are at the end of that line. So I was hoping to see in this contract some form, something addressed about the timetable, and some guarantee perhaps that within a certain number of years that we would be upgraded to fiber. Okay. And if you bear with me for just a second. I'm assuming also that the town board has all read the broadband committee's report of a year ago, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. What was the major point that we made?
Speed mostly.
Actually, you're close.
I'm glad. Thank you.
Okay.
For everybody to have a.
If I rephrase the question and say, what was the technology that we need? What's your answer now?
Fiber,
Fiber. Why?
because it's faster and gives people more options.
It's capable of being faster, yes. Gives people more option, more capacity, as he said. Okay. Do you remember what one of the major complaints about Optimum was during the last weather emergency?
Slowed down with the rain outages.
That's correct. So we now have not fiber, but coaxial cable. Coaxial cable is subject to a couple of problems, interference by the weather and overuse by too many people. Your internet will slow down when you have more people on it. That's less likely to happen with the extremely higher capacity of fiber optic. I know most of you know me as a musician. I spent 30 years as a computer science professor, right? And I was the tech guy on the broadband committee. And I chaired the 3-state meeting that we had. What was the answer to my question? What was the most important recommendation that our broadband committee made? It was that this problem in this town for this committee is not solvable. The problem is way too big. The problem has to be solved on a much larger level. At least the county, which has finally gotten someone involved, too little, too late, but someone involved, and the state level. These issues that we have with trying to get more broadband and better service and faster implementation of fiber, these things have to be handled in a regulatory body that's bigger than this board. Now, having said that, you're stuck with what you have. The franchises are granted to towns at a time, and so you have the choice of either accepting theirs or not accepting theirs, and I do recommend that you accept it. But I wish that there was language in there, and I wrote this to Warren. I said, find out the dates that they plan to implement. I said, get a good coverage map. I can't tell you how much trouble we had as a committee trying to get maps of internet coverage to the last mile, to the house in the rural area that is not served. And some of the companies were very accommodating as long as we signed a non-disclosure agreement. Your company, sir, was not. We did not get a good map. We did not get the same quality map that we needed to do our work. And so I would ask you to add that to the contract. The contract does say that a representative of the municipality is entitled to make reports and ask for reports, and ask for progress reports. Am I correct in that, sir?
Yes.
So I would include in that request whoever it is who's appointed to be the liaison to Optimum. I would make sure that you include in that request getting a very detailed coverage map so that you know who is not served in this town. Yes, we did a survey. No, we don't claim it's accurate, but we know it's more accurate than most people who did these surveys. We got a pretty good return. We got a quarter of the population of Pine Plains returning the survey. So we think we know something. According to Optimum, and no, if I take that back, according to the state, 12% of people a year ago were not covered by broadband in this town. And yes, there's definitions of what that means. And the definitions are a moving target. As time goes on, the numbers get higher. But there is a substantial digital divide in this town. And it is up to you, town board, when you renew this contract, to insist that this company try to remedy that and to ask them how they're going to do it and when they're going to do it. I think I've said enough. Thank you.
Does anybody else have anything?
I just want to
ahead,
clarify
Stan.
something, add to this. Altice is running glass fiber optics up Route 83. We're on Bean River Road. There is a pole carrying glass fiber optics on Bean River Road and 83 on our property. We cannot get the fiber up. The telecommunications companies have some sort of system, a code, that you need so many subscribers per mile in order to get service. That should be clarified to the public. We do have fiber optics in town. We do have fiber optics in town. You don't have it on your road. Matt.
I can address that since of course the committee.
Brian is chairing this meeting now.
Okay,
It's not going to be an interactive discussion between members.
okay. I can answer it if you'd like.
Stan, you are correct. I do know Trip Road does have fiber for a fact.
I don't know if.
No, I'm telling you, it does have fiber for a fact.
Yeah.
I do know that.
But
I don't know which
Bean
end
River
it
does-
comes,
yeah.
I don't know what end it comes from, but I think
That
you are
may
correct.
be
Off of
because
83.
Part of it is in northeast.
Yes, that could be.
It's.
But the Pine Plains part does
Yeah.
on the closer end one end. Good.
A two-part answer. Is there fiber to some customers in Pine Plains? Yes. Is it Optimum's? To my knowledge, no. The reason for that is there fiber optic coming right through the center of town up Main Street? Yes. Is it available to our customers in Optimum? No. In fact, Consolidated runs lines. They have their trunk lines. They happen to go through Pine Plains. So if somebody said, is there fiber optic cable in Pine Plains? The answer is yes. Does it do us any good? No. The only exception is a couple of folks that I'm aware of. Rory Chase is one, Steve Neal is one, and that's because they're located in areas very close to Gallatin or the next county up. And that county had the foresight years ago to get a group of consultants together to apply for the round of grants that is long gone and get digital fiber to customers in Gallatin and Ankrum and those little tiny towns. And a couple of people who happened to be sort of on borders were able to tie into that. That is my knowledge of a year ago of the extent of fiber optic implementation in Pine Plains.
Anybody else? Warren, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I apologize. It was hard for me to hear some of the comments, but I was interested in the comment from one of the fellows, and I wasn't sure who it was. Was he commenting on behalf of the broadband committee?
No.
Was the committee?
Am I correct, Matt? You were not.
He was on the committee, but he was responding for himself. He was
Is that
talking
correct?
against himself.
Okay,
Yes.
so because if the committee had input, I'd like to see some written input from the actual committee. some of the issues are well beyond what we can resolve and tackle in the context of a cable renewal contract. A lot of these issues we cannot address. So if the committee, the broadband committee, wants to send us their written comments on the contract, I would be happy to review that with Altice to see if it's, and possibly the Public Service Commission to see if there are issues which we have the power to address and respond to in the context of the renewal agreement. If they want to do that, I'd be willing to hold the public hearing open until we receive that.
Would you guys,
Well, maybe there was a miscommunication because I was already asked if the broadband committee would make a recommendation. I said, yes, we would. And then we were waiting to hear back from you and we never heard from you. I proceeded to write to Warren to give him a couple of thoughts. I can at least speculate that the broadband committee has one technically minded person and he's standing here. So I think that what I commented to you would represent the thoughts of the broadband committee, I'm reasonably sure.
did you catch that, Warren?
I didn't catch it. Did he indicate that he would comment in writing or no?
No, he stated what his statement basically is representing what the broadband committee would recommend.
I believe that's true.
There's not much I can do. I'm happy to, I don't think Altice would be too happy about keeping the public hearing open, but I'm happy to do that until, if they want to submit something, if anybody wants to submit something in writing, the committee or any other individuals within 10 days of the close of the public hearing, we can take a look at that and see if there's anything in there that we can address within the context of the renewal agreement. I have to tell you, this is fairly standard language. It's been reviewed by the Public Service Commission. I'm in the process of negotiating a renewal of several of these with other municipalities. So there are limitations to the powers that we have to expand the broadband service. That's just something we can't do. But I'm willing to keep the public hearing if the board is willing to do that, open for 10 days. Submit whatever you have in writing, or if I could see the minutes. And if there's something that we should be addressing, which we haven't, we'll certainly try to correct that with Altice.
Like us to keep it.
That sound fair enough?
I don't think there's any need for you to keep it open. I did write to Warren, so maybe he didn't get it or whatever. But I believe the points I've made could be viewed by him from tonight's meeting, and he would know the thoughts of the committee.
Thank you, Matt.
You want to keep the public hearing open? What's everybody's?
I personally don't think it's necessary.
I don't either.
No, I think that, especially in the non-exclusive realm, that it's not necessary for us to keep it open. I think there is further discussion that we can have with Altice, but after the franchises is, extended. I think there's a lot being done on broadband on the larger scale, at least at the county level, in which, hopefully that will lead us to a place we can be. But I don't see, I have questions, but they're not something that can be easily answered. They're just to satisfy my needs, such as the areas that are less than 15 units per mile. If I could just see those blocked out, I'd like to see that. And I'd also like to hear what your recommendations are. If we were close, I would, we could talk about this a little bit more. But I understand work enough for the utility companies to know what's involved in trying to extend and the costs that are involved. I would have liked to have seen the map of what areas aren't served, even if it isn't, even if it's just in general blocked out. That would be my only request. But I don't know if that's necessary before the franchise agreement is signed or not.
Mary, in fact, within the purview of the current agreement, it would be perfectly acceptable to ask where we're not reaching homes because of the density requirement. You mentioned the 15 homes per mile.
Right.
And that's in the current agreement as well as in the renewal.
Mhm.
And that's something that we can do just as a operations type of.
Well, I would appreciate that. I would like to see that. I think that's an important piece for us to have.
And so let me look into that.
Okay.
Is I know that the company has gone deeper into the rural areas than most cable operators. But there's still areas where we can't get into. It could be the age of the telephone pole, which was the issue 10 years ago. At the last renewal, there were several telephone poles that had to be replaced before additional wiring could be put on them. And I don't know, I haven't kept up, quite honestly. I don't know what that situation is these days. And that's something that we certainly could take a look at.
All right. And Central Hudson is doing this major upgrade to their pole system.
Have they been replacing poles? Oh, okay, good.
So there's a good chance that isn't an issue anymore.
To the Optimum representative, I'll just point out that we did ask you for a map and we did not get a satisfactory map. So keep that in mind and work on your end of things so that you can provide one to the town under the new agreement.
Yes.
At the time that we spoke to your representative, Optimum made the statement that they could not expand the coverage to underserved people without additional funding from somewhere, grants, the state, whatever. And of course, the state has had 2 rounds already of grants, of which Columbia County tremendously benefited from the second one. It's my understanding when you mentioned Dutchess County, even though they are too little too late to the party, they are taking over surveying the county, and that will necessarily lead to the next round of being ready to accept grant money and direct it to where it's needed if enough money is put into the project. And there's several ifs in there.
Anybody else have anything?
Perhaps maybe we should workshop this before the existing contract remains in full force and effect, so there's no immediate rush. I know they would like to get this done, but maybe we could discuss all of this in a workshop session prior to our next public meeting.
Okay, everybody.
Matt, do you think you guys could come? Workshop meeting next month?
Good with that? Sure. All right, so Warren, we're gonna leave the public hearing open.
Leave the public hearing open and then I'll contact town clerk and see when we can get together and maybe have someone from Maltese there and go over some of these issues. Again, if anybody wants to submit something in writing, it's always easier to review that.
Do we make a motion to leave it open more or? do
Yeah.
we-
That's fine.
I'll make
Keep
a
it open
motion
till the
that we-
next town board meeting.
Make a motion that,
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time tonight. Appreciate it.
Approval of the minutes.
Okay, so I have approval of May 19th town board minutes and the acceptance of the May 2022 town clerk's report.
You have to make one change in your minutes.
Okay,
They were benches, not tables, under the 2 tiki.
Okay.
They were benches, not tables.
Make a motion to accept that with the change that Brian just mentioned.
Can I get a second?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of the bills.
Have general bill number 19352 through 19378. Highway bills number 19379 through 19397, and water bills number 3127 and 3128.
Motion on the bills?
I move that we pay those bills.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Supervisor statement. Thank you, everyone in attendance and everyone watching at home on our YouTube channel. It's going to be short. I would like to thank Heather, our highway superintendent, for 16 years of service to the town of Pine Plains and the last 8 years as our highway superintendent. Heather will be stepping down as highway superintendent effective June 24th and will be missed. I would also like to thank Mary Ann Lennon for her 52 years of service to the town of Pine Plains. Mary Ann served as planning board secretary for 10 years and 42 years as the court clerk. Mary Ann will be retiring June 30th, and her knowledge and dedication will be greatly missed. Public comment.
Go ahead, Vicky.
I'm Mrs. Rocco, and I was not here for the workshop meeting on last Monday. I did watch it, and I'm a little confused and not saying right, but I am a little disappointed. I just felt like after a whole year, now we find out that the $4,000 we really shouldn't have gotten, yet you guys approved it. All our bills, everything had gone through you, well, not through the previous board. Through your bills, anything, we did everything that we were supposed to. We filled out all the right papers. We gave you all the right forms if we needed a bid. And I got the feeling at the end of that meeting, after they had talked about the park, and at the end of that meeting, when you just, I almost want to say blindsided them and said, well, you only have $16. You never should have gotten that $4,000. Why, when they were talking about what was needed to complete the park, and they were stating that, we have money, we have records of every dime that we have spent, every volunteer person, and we had it all. And that was last year, we received that check from the tree committee. They were for the trees in the park and bushes. And now you're telling us that no, but I guess my real question is, if you pull that money back, where's it going? That was from the 21 budget. So, and it was a donation. So where does that money go now? Why does it just go into the general fund rollover? I don't understand why, if it was for trees and it was all approved, why now we're losing it? Because it was out of another line item.
The question in regards to that was it was taken out of the line item without a resolution, without board approval to take
But
it
we
out of
didn't,
that line.
that
item.
wasn't, you approved it, you approved the bill, the check. And it's
Not me
was in
directly.
your packets.
I also.
No, not you.
I-
I don't mean you, but
I expressed my concern the other night on this issue. And my understanding is that we are looking into it. I still don't understand exactly what happened there and why it was done, because I assume that I authorized the payment of the bill. So I feel uncomfortable with it also. I just want to express that.
I mean, that came out of, it was out of the landscaping bill. And within like a couple of weeks, we were given a check out of the tree fund to cover that part of the landscaping bill so that they could purchase the trees. And that was in April of 2021. So I don't understand something that was done before in a budget that was approved I'm a little confused, plus the fact it was a donation. They gave the town, that money was a donation, it was no line item, so I would think that that money would have to go back into the donation.
The $4,000 was a donation.
No, but it came out, well, it came out of the tree fund. But I mean, the original money was a donation, so.
At the end of the meeting, there were two issues in my mind. Number one, we explained our dilemma. And that we asked your committee to
Right.
come back with what they really needed.
But you know what?
But the other thing is they also asked us for an annual maintenance fee. That they were going to hire someone, which you just can't do, to do weeding and groundskeeping there. And that was one of the biggest issues we had at the beginning of the whole park issue, was who was
Right.
going to do this.
I realized
So,
that.
I mean, we have a lot to hear. Number one, we didn't know about plaques. We didn't know about,
You would think that a man gave us $25,000, you think we'd at least put a plaque in there.
I understand, but it was plural.
Well,
Yeah,
there
okay,
were-
so anyhow, but I mean,
and the pergola,
this
and
was
the,
still.
and the fountain.
This was still left open. We asked for, a budget. And we still have to talk about, we don't have anything in this year's budget for maintenance, to hire someone to do maintenance. And this was a big question right up front.
Right,
So, but the thing is,
and
that-
I agree 100% with you on that.
but I agree with what Sarah said, is we're not sure how this all happened. And we're in the process where I've asked for at least to see the original vouchers, to see how it went through.
But that shouldn't, I mean,
I know,
we
it's-
did what we were supposed to. We
Right.
gave you your vouchers. What happened on this end,
Mhm.
Well, I'm going to suggest that we take it under consideration and we figure out, and we look more carefully at it, and that
Yes.
the issue remains open.
Yes,
because when we were told we had that $4,000 back, so to speak, we spent it on a very simple irrigation system. We kind of, said, great, now we have a little bit more money. And we knew there were other things coming that we were gonna need it for. Because in December, we received a printout. And we had like $8,000 left. And we knew we had to buy furniture and everything. We knew we still had some expenses, but then to lose that $4,000. But I got the feeling at the end of that meeting, it was almost like, okay, you give us a budget, you tell us exactly what you need.
Mhm.
I almost got the feeling it was like, you haven't been doing that. You're not doing it right.
That was
These people-
not
But
the
that's the
case
way it
though.
came across.
It was
And I
just,
felt really bad for the people that on that committee, they have spent hours, they have put their own money in. We've gotten volunteers to help us, so we could keep within that budget. So I just didn't feel it was, after a year, I just didn't feel it. Thank you.
anybody else have anything?
I have one from Ethan D. Maria. It's just continuing on what we talked about, the Greta Anderson's comment of sidewalk, crosswalks. He thinks that we should also add one at South Main and Lake Road, North Main Street and Pioneer Drive, Poplar Avenue and Church Street, Farview Avenue and Church Street, and pedestrian lights at the traffic light on Main Street and Church Street. So I will bring that up in my emails with them. He also makes a good point that maybe it makes it a bigger job for somebody to bid on, so we can get the one in front of the library done as well. So if we get it approved, it could look more appealing to somebody to come in and do it.
We did have a study done by the county on crosswalks. And so it should be available, there should be a map around of their recommendations.
Huh?
So I'd like to compare those to some of the other recommendations.
Perfect.
Yeah,
We also received an email to the board members in regards to on May 28th at 7 a.m., the Pine Plains Fire Department delivered at least one tanker full of water to a swimming pool owned by a neighbor. Given that the water is obtained from a hydrant and given the deal the town board made with the fire department for use of water for drills only, I would like to know who paid for the water, where it came from, and how others might obtain the services. How is this accounted for in budgets? If water was paid for, is the fire department allowed to sell water to citizens? I'm gonna let Ray, as part of the water department, which he already addressed this email once.
Yeah, so I received a similar email back on May 29th, and I responded back on June 3rd regarding very similar questions. So as it pertains to the Pine Plains Water Improvement Area, the Pine Plains Water Improvement Area, as far as I can remember, has always provided the opportunity for residents within the town of Pine Plains to purchase water for pools. And the way that normally, although that being said, I actually don't recall anybody utilizing it in the past 5 to 6 years. It's been quite some time since somebody's actually taken advantage of it. But that being said, generally speaking, the way that has always occurred is that the homeowner that was going to be purchasing the water contacts the water department, provides all of their billing information in case they are not within the water district. And then the water department actually generates a bill based on the amount of water. Usually it's per load, if you will. And there's $40.50 per load generally. And that is paid directly to the Pine Plains Water Improvement Area. The Pine Plains Water Improvement Area does not deal with obtaining the service as far as the fire company making any deliveries or anything of that nature. That's dealt with between the property owner and the fire company themselves. So normally if somebody contacted the water department, we said that we would be willing to go ahead and sell the water. They would have to provide us the billing information. A bill would be generated. They would be paying that bill. Once that bill was paid, we would notify the fire department that the bill was paid, and they are on their own as far as dealing with the fire company as far as those arrangements are concerned. Similarly, in the past, if the fire company was if the fire company was contacted, if the fire company was contacted by a homeowner requesting water for pool water, it was normally that the fire company would have the owner contact the water company directly. We would go through the process of payment. We would then let the fire company know that payment was made, and then it would be up to the homeowner and the fire company to deal with the arrangements on how that was delivered. But it is accounted for in any type of budget that we have as far as income coming into the water department. All right, so it was always accounted for in that manner. I also recognize that not all waters actually that the fire company uses is actually provided for by the water company. Sometimes they're taking out of lakes or ponds and things of that nature, and not through the hydrant system itself. So again, not familiar with what took place on the 28th. We were never notified by the property owner making a request to purchase pool water or water from the water company. I did not happen to see any drawdown on that morning from the water system, because again, we do have a graph at the water plant. So we can see when there's a large draw in a very short period of time, which would indicate that water was removed from the system. We wouldn't know obviously how it's taken out of the system in particular, but we would see that there's a drawdown that was taking place. I didn't happen to see a drawdown on that one, as far as that's concerned.
Does anybody else have anything?
I have a public comment in regards to that. We had a drill in Stanfordville, so that water on that day actually came from a drill we had done in Stanfordville, came from the stream.
Oh, good.
So it did not come from the hydrant source.
Rachel Minkoff, just curious, it's been a couple months since I've asked, wondering if anything's going on with the central septic system for the town that was, I believe, you were waiting for maps back from the consultants last time we talked about.
I can provide that.
Go ahead.
Sure. I was gonna handle that in the engineering, but I'll handle it now, if
Yep.
that's okay with the board.
Yep.
So pursuant to the discussion that took place at the last meeting, there was a question, and my apologies, I'm not sure if you were brought it up or anyone else, but there was a question regarding the status. So I actually reached out to Aaron Moore of Ty and Bond. Ty and Bond was the consultant that the town had hired to do the feasibility study. Then actually engaged their services to prepare what's known as the map plan report, which is the basis of actually creating the district. That's one of the first steps that has to take place. Ms. Moore did get back to me. She indicated that although the agreement between the town and Ty and Bond was executed, as far as preparing the map plan report, Ty and Bond didn't move on it as of yet. She did identify that the entire feasibility study and the entire system is hinged upon the town obtaining property from the church or the archdiocese for the location of the treatment facility. And in her opinion, that if there's not some sort of, whether it be an agreement or some other type of surety that that's actually going to take place, that she didn't want to spend the town's money, quite honestly, because the whole purpose of the map plan report is to get it filed with the state to establish the district. If the hinge point is the property for the feasibility or for the treatment facility, and if the town is not able to obtain that, they would have to go through the entire process all over again and find a new piece of land, create a new feasibility study, create a new map plan report, get that filed with the state, so on and so forth. So her recommendation is to have the town be in contact with, whether it be the church or the archdiocese, whoever that owner is, to then start that discussion up as far as the obtaining rights to that property. And negotiate that as well. So I know Warren's via Zoom, so perhaps he might not be able to hear me, but I think the next step would be perhaps having Warren reach out to the archdiocese or the church or whoever the town had obtained approvals from to allow them to gain access onto the property and to start that negotiation process, potentially as far as obtaining the rights to that land.
Do you think we could get this in writing from Ty and Bond?
Sure. I can ask
And
for
so
that.
that we could then hand that to Warren and let Warren know.
Sure.
what
Right. Yeah, I can write an email to Warren and I'll
Okay,
bring the supervisor into it and I'll bring Ms. Moore into it as well.
Because Warren had been in contact with
Yes.
a representative of the
yes.
archdiocese
That was
And
my,
had
rec-
been-
that was my
and
recollection.
had been working on that,
Yeah,
yes.
and again, I think that even dates back to the feasibility where the town had to obtain rights to get onto the property to conduct the tests and so forth. So I will prepare an email and I'll include the supervisor. Obviously, I'll send it to Warren and I'll keep Ms. Moore in on that as well.
And I spoke to Ms. Moore, and our application with the conservation has been extended. All that paperwork was done and submitted. So that application is still open with all our permits and all that stuff. Anything else?
Just, can I make a?
Go ahead.
Now, there was a comment about how poorly the website is working as far as finding anything on it. And Madeline and I actually tried to find some things today. I can find what I need to find with a desktop. I can't find it with a Kindle. I can't find it with a phone. And a lot of it is I just don't understand how. And so Madeline and I think, came up with a fix of where you can search for it and find the minutes that you want. But between what Amanda's doing and what Madeline is doing and things like that, we're hoping to resolve that issue. I don't understand. Madeline saying, well, just click on this button. Doesn't click, I'm sorry. But anyhow, no, we're taking that to heart. It is frustrating to try to stumble through some of that to find it.
Stan?
Yeah, I would I wasn't prepared to talk. I just want to go on record as one of the two masked people here that the town board purchase a carbon dioxide meter for use of this room. It would cost $250. It's calibrated, it's industry standard. And it would measure the amount of carbon dioxide that people are exhaling, which is a very, very accurate, medically accepted proxy for transmission of COVID virus. And it's made by Aranet 4, and I can give you the exact purchase installation. You can get it from Amazon. I would have brought mine, and I forgot, and I'm wearing the mask instead.
Anybody else? Warren,
Yeah, I found out just a couple of days ago about the resignation of the highway superintendent. I'm gonna have to draft a memo to you on how we handle that. It's my understanding that we're gonna have to appoint somebody to fill out the term to the end of the year. It's a 4-year term that she has, and I guess she's 2 years into the term. So I suspect my memo will indicate that you'll need to appoint somebody to fill that position to the end of the year, and that person, if they so desire, somebody else, will then have to run at the next election for the unexpired 1-year term of the 4-year term. And then we take it from there. But I'll get you a memo on that so you have some clear guidance on how to proceed with all of that.
Warren, in that memo, can you include a residency requirement for an appointee?
I'm sorry, Don, I'm having trouble here.
I'm just, in your memo, would you include what residency requirements we have for an interim appointee?
Yeah, I would assume that the residency requirements are the same as for a permanent highway, but I'll address that.
Thank you.
No problem. Couple of other things in the zoning area that I'm waiting for the final version of the solar law and the marijuana regulations for the town from our planning consultant. I had made some recommendations on the solar law, which they're now incorporated, and I think the marijuana regulations are pretty much ready to go. But I do need the part 1 of the environmental assessment form so we can start the local law adoption process. I've been in touch with Taylor, and it's my understanding we should have this for you by the next month's meeting and proceed forward on that. I think that's all I have. I'm hoping maybe by next month I'll be able to drive to the meetings, because it is hard for me to hear remotely, but we'll see what happens.
Welcome back, Warren.
yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay.
I don't know if you heard that.
Did everybody receive the highway report?
Go enjoy your vacation. Do we need them anywhere?
We can need him any. His choice.
I don't believe so. Highway report, did everybody receive it?
Yes, I just want public confirmation that the beaver traps are no longer in use.
That is correct at this time. They are not in the
Okay.
water.
And then perhaps we should remove the signs that would then no longer be necessary there that indicate that there's traps in danger.
I don't recall seeing anything other than just a warning sign. I don't know.
It's-
Sure.
I have pictures of them. Those,
It says metal trap, metal,
Those-
metal
those can-
something. dangerous.
those can be removed.
Okay, well, they can be.
Okay, thank you.
Building inspector,
Thank you. Another report from May, there's 10 building permits issued, the first total year of 43. There've been 6 new homes permitted this year alone. One COs, one certificate of occupancy was issued. 5 certificate of occupancy searches was done, and 22 site inspections. If you look at my 10-year history, we've never been in the 30s for a number in the first 5 months. This year we're 43, which interestingly is the number of permits we wrote in the entire year of 2016. So it's been a busy year so far, and I don't see anything slowing down. In addition to that, at the end of May, I identified 10 properties in town that had property maintenance issues regarding lawn mowing. Between phone calls, in-person interviews, and 4 certified letters, I've got the number down to 2 that are still non-compliant. I did speak to one property owner today who's been on vacation, so that's been taken care of. The only property that I think we have issue with, which we've had in the past, is an out-of-property owner from New Jersey. And it's just something I chase every year, and eventually it comes around. Another point I want to give the board, I did speak to the wife of the owner of 41 Hoffman Road. She's in the process of petitioning the court to become administrator. The gentleman who perished in the explosion was a sole property owner, so she's trying to obtain this administrator status so she can deal with the insurance company. She told me that she's been in contact with a contractor to have them ready, and as soon as the insurance company will deal with her, and I did speak to the contractor, and that is true. So I think she's making an effort to get this done. You know, it's like everything else, the bureaucracy of it is a little more difficult than we probably imagined. And the last time I have is I have been working on a property maintenance issue more severe than with lawn mowing on Hicks Hill, and that's been an ongoing issue for months now. I was in court again last night with them, and it looks like probably one more court date in August, and that'll be taken care of. So it's been a busy month, but a good month. So.
Thank you, Drew. Greg?
Monthly report was submitted to the Department of Health. Our average daily flow declined to 56,000 gallons per day. So I'll be starting a leak detection survey over the next week or so. That's not a very large amount of water that, you know, we're continuing to get an increase on. It could be the fact that people are watering gardens and, you know, just using more water than usual. But I'll be going out and doing a leak detection just to keep an eye on it, and hopefully, you know, if we do find one, we'll go ahead and take care of it. But keep an eye out for any water bubbling to the surface in the meantime. Water meter maintenance, 4 meter heads were replaced, 1 meter was rebuilt. There was one water service located on South Main Street that was turned on and placed back into service. That water service was turned off for a couple years now while the building was unoccupied. Performed annual maintenance, excuse me, and calibration of the telemetry system serving the water storage tank. Utility markouts, there were 4 utility markouts performed over the past month. Again, most of those happen to be with the utility company as they continue to put in additional utility poles. There was a small leak, very small leak, found on a customer service line on Poplar Avenue. The service line, or the leak, excuse me, was located on the customer side of the curb shut-off. And so the owner had elected to go ahead and put a brand new service line from the curb shut-off all the way into their building. And since it was located on the customer side, the cost of that was borne by the property owner. But prior to it being backfilled, I did inspect it, and it was placed back into the service later that day. We received our chlorine delivery of 60 gallons. That should be sufficient for the next 6 months, depending upon the water flows. And the second quarter water meter readings will be taken at the end of June, and the bills will be sent out at the beginning of July. We will be including a note to the property owners regarding the new policy based on the local law that was passed, that all all quarterly bills, excuse me, would be sent to the property owner and not to the tenant. So that will be going into effect. We plan on providing a notice for this quarter and then moving forward with it for next quarter. That's it for water and engineering. The only thing I had for engineering was the item pertaining to tying and bond as far as that discussion. So I'll make sure that I get that email out.
Thank you, Randy.
Recreation Department.
Just an update to beach employees. We've had a couple new applicants, including lifeguards and rec staff. I just got it from Jen Blackburn, so I'll be sending you guys the email list, but I'd like to get those people approved once their paperwork is in. I'll just give you the full list. So for lifeguards, Hunter Atkinson, Kelsey Atkinson, Jimmy King, Eliza Essery, and Gavin Queen. And then for rec assistants, we would have Tessa Blackburn, Brianna Blackburn, Michelle Blackburn, Matt Mealich, and Thomas Westfall. So I guess the approval for them to be personnel at our beach as lifeguards and rec assistants.
I'll make that motion.
There a second?
I go a second, I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then for an upcoming expense for bus trips for camp, $6,114 is the estimated cost for the trips that they want to do with camp. That money is in the camp budget and they're asking to have that pre-approval. I can also give you the list of those via email or print.
No. When you come out with that figure, that's the figure. There's not going to be any added
So
costs that are hidden or
so
anything like that.
The original list would have cost about $10,000. So we trimmed it down so it is under budget, and she would still have the money to buy her $500 to $600 worth of supplies needed for the other aspects of camp. So that's our.
So one thing that brings in a lot of money, it makes money every year anyway. So yes, we'll pre-approve that kid, the recreation bus.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Could you just email me that employee list, please? Thank you.
And then that's all I have. Well, actually, one thing, anyone interested in volunteering for the triathlon, please contact me so that I can pass along to Mark Wilson, who's running it. We need volunteers in all sorts of ways, either set up or directing traffic and stuff like that.
What's your email, like rec director at
Yeah,
Pine Plains?
recreation@pineplains-ny.gov.
And when is it?
That is gonna be the last Saturday, or
26th.
last Sunday.
26th.
It's the day after graduation, it's the 26th.
Sunday, the 26th, they're starting at 8 o'clock in the morning from the beach.
Can I ask a couple?
Absolutely.
Mike, about the girls' dugouts,
Yes.
what's the status on that right now?
Right now, that really hasn't been on my radar. It's kind of dropped down on the priority list. We are looking at getting those built, but I haven't had a chance to sit down with a couple people.
Was it the
on
banner money earmarked for
The
those?
banner money was earmarked for field maintenance and repair of equipment that we have. I remember a while back,
Yeah,
we looked at the $4,000 being able to build it with volunteer help and materials. And then after that was approved, because that was about 2 years ago now, we ended up not having the manpower and it wasn't going to be feasible to build a structure that.
okay, could that float to the top of your thoughts?
Yeah.
And let us
Yeah.
know, because
Yeah.
I've had several people ask me about it.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, where it is.
Yeah.
And with the girls' field, what are we doing with the rink liner that's laying there all rolled up by the?
We're moving that, sorry, that's my fault. I
Okay,
haven't gotten down
okay.
there to move that yet, yes. sorry.
There's
There's a hole in it and we're gonna get a new one to go over top of it. Ray suggests that we use that as a bottom one, put the new one on top. So we have an extra barrier in case something comes up through, but yes. So sorry, I figured that once camp started, they move out all their camp stuff where I'll have more room to place it into where we normally store it.
No, you were just gonna take the camp staff to help you carry it down. Yeah, yeah.
That makes sense.
They're stronger than me.
Everybody received the animal control report?
Yes.
Police Department.
We had 12 hours of work, 148.5 of patrol, 6.5 of discovery, 22 of investigation. Training, 27.5, 35 hours of details, and vehicle other is 10 hours. We had 19 complaints, 1 auto accident, 22 traffic warnings, 51 tickets issued. And even with that high number of tickets issued, almost on a daily basis, we have complaints of speeding vehicles, erratic vehicles, and loud vehicles on town roads. And 31 scheduled shifts, actually covered was 35. Officer Parada received 2 days of training on highway drug interdiction and traffic stops. Officer Camburn and Sergeant Bellevue did 2 countywide DWI patrols. Myself, Sergeant Bellevue, and Officer Camburn provided traffic control for the Memorial Day parade. Mike now has something to say.
All right, Let recent events throughout the nation with the rising concern of copycat crime, feel it necessary once again to bring up the issue for the board. It's a little bit about me. I've been a member of the Albany County Sheriff's Office Emergency Response Team SWAT team since 2011. I'm a current instructor in SWAT tactics. I'm also a firearms instructor, patrol rifle instructor, active shooter instructor, and a bunch of other things that really aren't pertinent to the current topic. I was issued a patrol rifle through the sheriff's office years ago when first getting on the team. The reason I was issued said rifle is because you need to have at the very least the same firepower as the individual who's trying to harm innocent civilians, but preferably greater firepower if possible. Usually is the case nowadays. Spoken in the past about the benefits of patrol rifles and the reason for having them. So if there are any questions as far as that goes, I'm more than willing to answer them for you. But tonight I wanted to just say that we were asking to be granted the ability to purchase these rifles to be able to better serve and protect the community as well as other communities and other agencies that we end up linking up with when these things happen. And also to serve the community to the best of our ability. I can instruct any of our officers or anyone as far as that matter goes. It's a safe operation and deployment of the weapon system to eliminate the threat as well as, or all while minimizing dangers associated with these types of incidents. As with anything we do, any weapon system we have, proper training is the key to the implementation of these. Actually, with any tool we use, because at the end of the day, any of the equipment that we use on a daily basis is just that. It's tools in our tool belt. It's better to have it than need it than to need it and not have it. Any questions?
Would it be funded through grants at all, or would it be
Grants won't cover
grants? Okay, I was just curious.
But we do have
We have money in the budget.
I mean, I stated the last time you guys came, I have a kid in our school district, and if something like that was to happen, I would want you guys to be able to show up with the equal amount of power with your training to be able to diffuse.
What it boils down to is being an active shooter instructor. It's not something where, oh, well, we don't have the weapon system, so we're not going in. We're going in, but we're greatly overpowered.
Showing up to the gunfight with a knife.
Pretty much what it is. And as we've seen these last several shooting incidents, they're just like anything overseas happen. Your enemy adapts to what they're dealing with. There's no difference here. These guys are homegrown terrorists, and now they've implemented the use of patrol rifles or AK-47, some kind of a rifle system, and now they're using body armor. Shotguns don't defeat body armor. So what I'm going to do is, God forbid something happens in school, I'm going to go in with my trusty handgun and pray that I can get rounds off on him before he gets rounds off on me to save any one of your children. And if I perish in that, just know that there's 4 little kids that I have that are going to be wishing that I wasn't no return a blind eye or ear to what I'm asking for, which is simply a tool in our tool belt.
Okay. This board, the former board voted on this issue and it was defeated last year. I understand that we have a horrible problem in our country. And it seems that the answer is always, well, we need more guns. And it seems to me that as a culture, we value guns and people's right to have more guns over safety issues. And I am diametrically opposed to more guns. And because we had a horrible incident involving children where the police did everything wrong, it doesn't seem to me that we should have more guns as a result. And I will not be voting for this.
Okay, so I can actually refute that. The training that these officers had was not the training that we had. That the way that active shooter situation that happened in Texas was not how it's supposed to happen.
I understand that, but we are reacting to a disaster where the police were just as disastrous as anything else. And we are having a reaction to that. And I just am not going there.
So
And you
your
should
knee-jerk
understand that
reaction right
there's,
now, ma'am, is that all police, so it's a blanket comment that all police are trained the same and that all of us are incompetent.
I know that, okay, and I think we have a terrific police department, but you know what? Our police department now is not necessarily what we're gonna have in a couple of years. It changes all the time. I don't think that we should be having an additional guns. I don't think anybody needs assault rifles, and I think we should moving in a different direction. I am very against this.
This is an important enough issue that Mark Molinaro has called a special meeting at the 911 Center next Friday. And he specifically wants to
Well,
issue.
you know what? We just disagree about this, but don't expect to convince me that I should vote to have more guns.
My question is that it's the bad guys aren't gonna stop getting guns. They're overpowering us as far as firepower goes as it is. So in order to keep our children safe, ma'am, I don't, what do you suggest? I mean, should we put up more signs for gun-free zones? Because that doesn't work.
I think we should
You know
get rid of so many guns. That's what I think we
I
should do.
understand that, but you know what's gonna do that? Law-abiding citizens. So, I mean, if you don't trust the police officers to have them to protect our kids and protect the community.
You're not gonna convince me. I think
So
it's the
Mike,
wrong
Okay.
Could you
direction.
look into prices and stuff like that and send them to the board? And then we can look over it and
I'm-
we don't have to make a
I'm-
decision tonight. Okay, we don't need to make a decision tonight
I'm
though.
just gonna ask for just so we can put this to rest, I'm gonna ask Mr. Supervisor, can we do a vote on it tonight?
Can I get a motion?
I mean, I was the one vote that voted for you guys last time, so I'll make the motion that we look into around the police officers to have a patrol with.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I'm not gonna vote.
I'm
Yeah.
opposed.
But this is to look into it, right, with prices, or is this, right?
You made the motion to.
Okay, then I'm good with that. I'm good with that.
I'm
We need
not.
some kind of answer, because when I go to that meeting next week, they're gonna ask me what I have for tools.
We're the only police agency.
We are the only one in Dutchess County.
You-
I'm gonna raise my
residents, yeah.
hand and say, we don't have
You guys are good with that, right?
But you're looking
Three to
at-
two.
Yes.
Well-
You're getting prices.
If an active shooter happens in Red Hook and they say all cars in the zone respond, we're gonna respond with our little Glock 40s. And say, why'd you guys come?
That's a good question, Joe. Why did you guys go? I mean,
Because when they pull up all cars.
we're not providing a police agency for the northern part of Dutchess
Did you
County.
see when the shooter was in Pine Plains School? Did you see the police come from Beacon?
Well, I mean, no, I'm not gonna go there. I'm not in
That's
favor.
because you're not in our shoes. We
No?
have to do it, or else we'll be scrutinized. So when we go in, we're gonna get shot at.
Regardless of whether you agree with it or not, I'm gonna play bullet magnet to save anybody's life in the community.
I've seen too many people who got that gun in their hands and went nuts with it.
I've been on an active SWAT team for the past 11 years.
Well, I carried one for 13 months, so no. Let's,
Oh,
I
okay.
do have some
As I did in the
experience with
military.
it,
And
but don't, you know,
I'm not trying to take away anything that anybody who served alongside me
Right.
or who served with me in the police agency or
No,
on the
it's-
SWAT team
it's-
or in other SWAT teams. What I'm saying is
I,
that
at
it's
this
simply
point,
a
I
tool.
cannot vote for it. I'm sorry. I'm voting no. You've got the rest of the board. Sarah and I are voting no. The rest of the board is voting yes. And that's the way it is.
You guys have anything else?
Thank you, gentlemen.
Old business.
I actually have a piece of old business. I've been attending the Tri-Town Coalition meetings for a long time. I don't know how much interest there is in the issues of affordable housing at this point in time, but I'm kind of worn out with it. And I don't know how other people feel. I just wanted to raise it as something to throw around, whether we can, I don't know if there's enough interest to have some kind of committee of affordable housing people. I know it's a big issue and I'm very committed to the issue. And I know that we have some prospects here that the town has been very supportive of the concept of affordable housing and the notion that as a town, we really need that and we want to be able to have housing for seniors, for young people to be able to stay here. So I don't know, I'm just like looking for guidance and looking for other people's thoughts on that issue.
Are you looking to set up like,
Yes.
looking for people to put it?
No, I
like,
just
put
don't
in,
know.
like, Try to
I'm-
help, like, could they email you, like, it's certain, like.
If people are
they're
interested in that, I think it's a really important national issue that we have that's a problem all over the country. That there's not sufficient affordable housing. And certainly people know in this town, the rental housing is really, really difficult to obtain that's affordable.
So what exactly are you, I think that's. what I'm
Yeah,
asking. What are you?
I just want to know what people think. Are we going to continue being a member of the Tri-Town Coalition? Is that valuable? I
Do we
think
need to
it's
send more
valuable.
bodies? Is
I
that
think
what
it's valuable because it gives us information about what other people are doing and what's going on in the other communities. So I don't think I'm not in favor of leaving it, but I go to meetings, I don't have much to contribute. And if somebody else wants to go to the meetings, that would be fine too. I'm just a little worn out of it.
I was worn out 5 years before she was.
Thank you, Todd.
It's not.
Sounds like a good one for Bobby to take on.
I don't know. I don't think it's something that's ours on the town.
I think you might be right about that.
Yeah.
I spoke to a couple of them and I got worn out from a
Oh.
30-minute conversation over the phone, so.
But the same discussion has been held for at least 20 years.
Mhm, mhm.
And,
No, I know.
and when the same resolution has come up, nothing.
And actually, the Tri-Town Coalition has been in existence for a number of years and they really haven't accomplished
No, they have meetings.
anything. They have
Right,
meetings.
but Brian and I were here with, somebody came in and they wanted to do an affordable housing unit. And they, when we told them they couldn't have 95 units on a 15-acre parcel, they walked.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's, you know, there's no money. So I don't know. I mean,
I think it's very hard to do it on a small local level. I think it's a bigger, wider problem. I guess I may just tell them that they can contact us and we're supportive of the idea, but
keep us informed.
informed, and I may attend some meetings, I may not, but I think that,
Right.
yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for everything. that
Yes,
you put
yes,
in.
thank you. Anybody else have any old business? New business?
But what about Marion Lennon? We should do a search, start doing a search.
I believe from
Or
our
do we-
last executive session.
Do we have to have
we were
motion to
allowing
accept the
that, yes.
resignation letters?
Yes, I think we
Yes.
did.
Which we'll get to that next.
Are we going to
Dave is gonna
okay,
take care of that and then.
make a
when he-
recommendation?
Yep, and then we'll make the decision off of that, which I know he has been looking.
Good.
Okay.
Is there any other new business before we accept that? All right, we need to accept.
I have a question, if I can ask.
Go ahead, go ahead.
I don't know if this is the right place to be asking it, but I'll bring it up anyway. The concern of the speed limit on 199 between 82 and Pine Plains. This comes up often and we can't seem to get anywhere on it. I don't know. I know
Because
you
it's a
guys keep
state road,
control
it
of
goes to the state, it's
I
the state
understand.
responsibility, so.
I understand that. I've been, requests have been sent to the highway department. I did a little research. Can anybody give clarity to who actually makes the decision?
New York State DOT. makes
Yeah,
it.
New York
Is it
State
the
DOT.
legislation? That's the last,
No, it's New York State Region.
8.
8,
I'm sorry,
Region 8, New York State Department of Transportation out of.
Region 8?
The woman who answers the phone is super nice. So actually a person who answers, not a recording.
But who actually, who in real life is going to make?
She'll transfer you to that person. I'm dealing with somebody else because it's sidewalks.
New York State
Yeah.
DOT will make that decision.
She'll transfer you to the right
I've been in
person.
contact with them for years and years and years and I've gotten nowhere.
I spoke with a retired person from about this, when this issue came up, who said the way they make the determination is they take the speed of 100 cars and they go to 85% because they figure people go at the speed where they feel safe. And he thinks the 55 speed limit would not be altered given the speeds that people go on that road.
And he's 100% home. What happens is that when you come on 199, let's say from Winchell Mountain Road or all the way from 22, the speed limit on that road is between 30, 40, and 45. All the signs are that speed limit. When they hit the corner of 80 and 82 and 70, it's downhill. They gun their engine all the way up the hill. I live on right after Hammertown Barn. How many times I've just come out of my driveway and pulling out, and I have a truck right behind me that's going 65, 70 miles an hour, fully loaded. So it doesn't matter how many cars are on that road, they just jam it up the hill because they've been only creeping along. And now, like 2 seconds later, they have to slow down to 35 miles an hour. So it makes no sense. I don't know why it can't go down to 45. And are we on the fourth section of 199? The other side gets 35 and 25 and we don't count on this side?
Number one, those speed limits are recommended speed limits. They're
Well,
not the
people do
actual
go fast.
mandate. But I mean, if the person's doing 65 and a 55, do you think they're gonna do 65 and a 45? I mean, 45? Are they
Yeah,
gonna
do you know how
obey
many
that
times I've
sign?
almost gotten hit coming out of my driveway?
Well, it's,
You live in the center of town.
right,
Excuse me?
You live in the center of town.
but I mean,
Oh,
you
I've
know,
seen-
bad.
Listen, I've seen them fly, I've seen those trucks fly right through the light and nobody ever stops them also.
well, that's where the police department is the
Well, I
only
know
real
it's
thing.
town police, but it's state police out here. But
Okay.
it's just insane that nothing can be done until I get run over and
Well,
jammed
that's-
into the fence.
okay,
I've
that's-
had people go around me.
That's like saying we needed an automatic, right? But I mean, the thing is that I don't know if it's going to do any good to do it. I mean, it's fine. I don't particularly agree, but that's all right. I mean,
Thank
it's
you
a,
very much.
no, I don't. I want to be honest with you.
Well,
I don't
then
agree.
how am I
I think,
supposed to not get hit by a car? I come out of my driveway,
buddy.
I turn up to go up the hill. I'm only going about 20, 25 miles an hour at that point because I've just come out.
Oh.
And now I've got somebody doing 60 right on my behind.
right, and I'm saying, well, I sympathize with that totally.
Good.
But I don't think that changing the speed limit is going to affect that particular driver. They have to get him downstairs and they have to take his license off. He's got to be hurt badly enough so that he realizes he's not going to do it. I mean, you go down to the beach where I live and they've got the same thing. I mean, those people are racing home. It's not a question of the signs there that says 30 and they're doing 45.
So then maybe you need to put a speed trap out.
But regardless,
Or but the police are, I do have to say that our town
Yes.
police are very good in town.
That's the sheriff's department in town.
No,
I'm on
no.
the state
No, they're
highway.
out here too.
It is the Pine Plains Police people.
and where your driveway is, the way you, I know exactly where your driveway is, the way you pull out and everything. You're going 20 miles an hour. You get someone coming 45 regardless, they're gonna come up on you quick as well.
Right,
So the
because he can't,
speed,
because he comes around that blind corner and can't see me till he's around the corner. I know, because I pull over on the shoulder, I look to see if anybody's coming, nobody's coming. By the time I get off the shoulder, he's right behind me.
because you're going from a dead stop and they're going
Right.
45 miles an hour, there's nothing you're gonna do reducing the
Well,
speed
but he's
either
gonna-
way.
But he's at 45. So what's your suggestion?
Maybe they need a sign hidden driveway.
That would be nice.
That may be a solution. That's also got.
It's
to
also
New York
it's a state
All
road.
right, I mean, do I have to? jump
You would
through
have
hoops?
to call the same,
So
number.
do I have to jump through hoops for that?
You would have to contact New York State Department of Transportation.
It's just a regular GOT and it's,
Region 8, tell them that you're interested in seeing if they can put up a sign regarding a hidden driveway. And they'll,
You'd probably have a better chance with that than reducing
well,
the
I
speed.
would, I'd be happy to start with that because the guy down the road has one, that he has one. So.
so then maybe
it's a-
they'll
it's a
know,
very
it'll be
good
easy. Maybe they already know about it and maybe it'll be easy for you.
Somebody's gonna get killed there like that. It's not me.
After the meeting, Cindy, I'll give you the number to call.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Anybody else have anything else in business?
I forgot to mention one thing. I was hoping to talk to you guys in executive session about.
Yes.
Personnel, correct?
Yes. Need to accept both of these.
Oh, I move that we accept
both letters.
Yeah.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any decisions gonna be made? No, correct?
No decisions.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we go to executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I make a motion that we come out of executive session.
Second. All in favor?
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Matt, you got that down.
Oh,
Yeah, that's my favorite part of the meeting. You were correct. You were the second.
still have to say.
I was asking for a second, but you got me, Director.
Oh, bye, Warren. Does Warren need to stay? What's going on? What are we doing with Warren?
Warren.
Yeah, well, it's just.
Hey, Warren, can you hear us?
Were you going into executive session?
We're going to executive session. I don't think,
Talk to the microphone.
I don't
You
think
need
we'll
me for
need,
that?
I don't think so, but are you reachable by phone if we do?
All right, if you need me, you can call me.
Okay, thank you.
So.
All right, good night, everybody.